Hey guys, welcome to the Who Are We series podcast. This is episode 2. My name's Trevor Hold. For those of you who don't know me or are new to the series, I've just been exploring ways to make differences in people's lives. Been doing that for about 4 years now. Initially in the mental health space and suicide prevention space, but recently graduated in my diploma in counselling. So, currently studying my bachelor in psychology. So I'm just spreading out a bit more to be more diverse and trying to help people with trauma across a whole spectrum of societies. I've identified, or I believe, that relationships are very important in society, whether it be intimate, personal, or business relationships. I think mastering the ability to form meaningful relationships will create better outcomes in our lives, something I'm very passionate about. And I believe a big part of this is understanding who we are and our identity. So with so much domestic violence, youth crime, and suicide in our society, it just seemed to me that we are losing our identity, both as an individual and as a collective in cultural society. So this series is made just and focuses on the question of who we are and what we stand for. Today, I have a guest, Gary Sullivan, with me. Gary, thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure.
So just a bit of a disclaimer before we get going. This is a recorded session. We're going to publish this on YouTube and put links on LinkedIn just to make it available to the public to have a look at. So just let you know that that's the purpose of this. And I just want to move forward and just ask the question: Who is Gary Sullivan, and what does he stand for?
You know, I've been thinking about this question all day, and I've got to really say I don't know. I don't know the real me. You know, like I don't know who I see how I see myself, because it just seems to constantly change all the time. The way I can explain this is I've got a little story that I was told some time ago that helps explain what I'm saying. Because anyway, I'll tell you this story. It was about this young Indian guy, young Indian kid. When he was in the village, he used to notice that people were sometimes good and sometimes they were bad, and he couldn't figure it out. You know, why people were so different. And so he went to the chief and he said, "Chief, look, sometimes I notice that people are really good and sometimes the same people are really bad. Can you explain it to me why people are like that?" And the chief looked at him and said, "Well, it's like we have inside of us, we've got two wolves inside of us, a good wolf and a bad wolf. And these two wolves are fighting each other all the time. And they always want to be on top. They're never at peace with each other." And the young kid said, "Well, who wins?" And the chief said, "The one you feed the most."
That's a good story. Yeah.
Yeah. And I looked at Gary Sullivan, and sorry, you had a question there?
No, I just say it depends on whether you're positive or negative with it. Is who's winning? Is that the moral of the story, do you think?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and the one you feed the most, and what's also quite dramatic is that the longer you spend in either side, you know, the good side or the bad side, is the bad side is also Gary Sullivan. You know, he's a person that at times I've truly hated. You know, he's truly selfish, truly self-satisfying, and at times I think it could be even, I don't know if evil is the word, but it's certainly
A real jerk, maybe.
a jerk.
Yeah.
At the very least, a selfish jerk.
Yeah.
And he's no good to anyone because all he gives a flying damn about is himself, because he just can't see anybody else. And he just does not see. And usually the Gary Sullivan, when he's like that, is usually fueled by fear or by confusion or self-hatred or doubt or anxiety. And they're the things that I feed him then, you know. And because of my nature, which is really quite extreme, it can be quite devastating and sometimes even suicidal, you know, because that's has been a thing. And when you know, he's really not a nice guy at all, and yet he has that. And the problem with him is that he's not, when he's like that, he's simply not aware of the good Gary Sullivan.
Yeah.
And so, because of this meditation that I've been taught many, many years ago, it's like a lighthouse or a beacon, you know, and because of its nature, it never goes out. I may travel many, many miles from it, but the beacon never goes out. And so sooner or later, you know, if I manage not to kill myself, I come back. I look at that beacon because I know what it is. You know? So I've got to come back to that because that's really the real me, you know, the one that I like. You know? And so I start
the happy Gary, the
happy
friendly
Gary,
Gary,
the nice one, the one that's that I want to live with, that want to be. So so the time that I spend out in the Badlands, you might say, are still really there and still really intense. But I know now that whenever I've truly had enough, I can set sail for the beacon, and I'll come back to the beacon. Eventually,
go back home.
I go back home, and then I'll travel out into the good lands, you might say, into the happy spaces, and then I'll become who I truly am and who I see myself truly to be. And you know, I think it's okay to mention this, that I do have a teacher, my guru, you might say. I've sort of been following now for since I was 21. I'm 67 now, so do the maths. That's a long time. And I know when I focus on him and I focus on what he tells me, because I've got to listen to his voice fairly often, if not daily, because that is the light in the beacon.
Okay. You can name him if you want. It's okay to name him. Who do you listen to?
Oh, his name is Prem Rawat, and
okay.
We used to call him Maraji, but his real name is Prem Rawat.
Okay.
And so when I travel out of that darkness, you know, that is really quite horrific, you know, because I remember at the worst times that I couldn't believe that you could feel that bad and that negative and that infested with the darkness and all the shit that goes on with it, that you can actually come out of that, actually survive it, and come back towards the light, which never faltered, which never changed.
Yep. Yep.
And
So
you
you're
live in
finding you're going backwards and forwards throughout your life. Depends on different circumstances in your life, or what might happen, or whether you're struggling different times with anxiety or other things and you go back, and then that might be good for a certain period of time, and then you find yourself back in the darkness again, and you got to find your way back home again. Is that how it's happened for you, Gary?
It's like that for me. For me, it's like that because the light, like the good Gary Sullivan, I haven't still quite figured out who he is, like how to experience him. But I know that he exists. I know that he's there.
Okay.
And I spend every waking moment just trying to be him. But the thing that I find hardest to understand is that Gary Sullivan, the good one, already exists.
Yeah.
He hasn't gone anywhere ever. He's still there. But for me, it's a process of really stopping, of being still, and finding out that, because if you really want to look at it, an analogy is the bad wolf is really our heads, in our minds. It's really fear and anxiety and doubt. That's the bad wolf. Self-destruction, sabotage. Call it what you will, but it has many heads. The wolf hasn't got one head; it's got many heads, and all of them speak to me all the time. With memories of past hurts and pain call to me always. Self-hatred always. And the only times it's ever still is when I'm focused on the light, on that. And that area that for me is still largely unknown is in my heart. Heart, because that's the good wolf. That's where the good wolf, and I've never truly understood that. I hear it all the time that I've got a heart, but I've never really experienced it until fairly lately. And now I know that there's just a couple of people in my life that I love, from my heart.
Yeah. So even at the age of 67, you're saying there before that you feel that your identity's escaped you all these years.
Yeah, it has. It's just, and even though my teacher Prem Rowell, he talks about a musk deer, and he says that this musk deer is tormented by this scent. It must be musk, I suppose. I don't know, but it's tormented by this scent, and it runs around the forest looking for it. And only when it falls over and it nearly dies of exhaustion does it realise that the scent is coming from its own navel. And that's exactly what this good wolf, has trouble understanding, is that the light or the goodness or the heart has never gone anywhere. It can be covered up, as it often has, but it's there, and it's only really lately that I can actually feel it. I've never understood it, because like my stepdaughter and my son, they're the ones that I love from my heart. And it's been quite interesting to know that I have that inside of me, because I think at times in my life I thought that I was incapable of loving anybody at all. And you know, especially when you're out in the Badlands, you're out in the darkness, and you know, for me, it was like living in a. I used to see life as being in the ocean of acid. That's how I was inhabited by sharks, and I was never felt at peace, no matter where I went. And I went everywhere. I traveled and moved and kept on moving, losing jobs, getting jobs, losing jobs, moving constantly. And it's only now that I've actually, you know, like living where I am living now, that I've sort of found what I call maybe a home. You know, that a place that I just want to stop. I just want to stop and explore where I am, and really start to explore my heart. Because just today, when I was meditating, I realized what I was doing. You know, that you know, I can get easily fooled. You know, Gary Sullivan loves to think of himself as a great nurse or a wise man, or you know, he knows this and he knows that. But that's the great deceiver. You know, to deceive myself. But and when I stop all that and I just start to pursue that feeling that comes inside of my heart, that's the only time that I feel a sense of peace.
Okay. And that takes a lot of courage to sort of like, you know, like, admit that sort of stuff, isn't it? Like it's takes a lot of courage to sort of say, you know, that sometimes we're not as good as what we think we are, or we do fall short, you know, and
Well,
I just like to acknowledge the strength it took to say that, and you know, it's a good reflection on you.
Well, you're right.
Yeah.
You know, at my age, to still suffer delusions about my grandeur, you might say, and lose a job over it, basically, because I was such a dickhead. It's hard to wear, you know, because you think that you would learn after all these years that, you know, about your true self. But the fact is that every now and then I like to stroke my own ego. You know, I like to think that I'm something, you know, like not completely fucked. And I understand that too, you know. Anyway, but at the moment I'm just feeling that peaceful side of me, and there's no conflict and no war going on. And that's the me that I like. And
so when you're at that me and you're feeling a bit content, like you sort of are at the moment, how do you find managing your relationships, you know, with your son and stepdaughter, as you said? Does that become easier for you? Is it when you're at peace compared to when, you know, you're out in the darkness, as you say?
Oh hell yeah! Because my son especially, you know, he's mute. You know, he can't say Dad, you've been a real shit. You know, he just and the person, because you know he's not well, sometimes things can be a little bit difficult, and I find that when I'm out there in the darkness, you know, filled with anxiety, self-loathing, and doubt, is that, you know, one thing Prem Rao says is that the ones that you love the most suffer the most, and you use them as targets.
As targets,
and it's true. You know, when I'm like that, when I'm filled with anxiety or frustration, you know, sometimes I look at him and I've got to really, truly rein it in, you know, and I'm teaching myself how to do that. You know, like it's not, none of it's his fault, you know, none of it. He's just is what he is, you know. And
so you take out your negative feelings out on the people you love, because they're easily, they put up with your shit, I suppose, maybe because they have to.
Exactly. He can't defend himself. So he's an easy target, you know. But the thing is is that I do really love him, and I don't want to hurt him, so I've got to learn just to rein in that, watch how I speak. Sometimes I'm cranky or impatient, and just imagine, I try and put myself in his shoes and think, how would it be if somebody spoke to me like that? I have to speak to him sometimes, and you think, I feel ashamed of myself, And then when I'm the good Gary Sullivan, when I'm feeding the good wolf, and I've got joy and I've got a bit of happiness inside of myself, I'll just tell him that I love him. I just love him, and all these attributes, I just accept as him. It's just the way he is. And I notice the way like the thing that I'm learning more than anything in my entire life, the lessons, if I've got a lesson to learn, it's just how to be kind to people, because I never understood what that was, how that was, or even how that could be. I just never had it in me. And through him, especially the last year since my wife has died, is that I'm learning how to, to find that kindness inside of me, and then miraculously he responds to it like you wouldn't believe, and he's kind back to me. He doesn't speak, he can't speak, but he shows me. He just does little things for me, like maybe I'm sitting out there in the landfill with cold, and he'll bring out a blanket to me. It's just so he's learning. I think he's always been kind, because he was as a kid. But when I'm in the shit darkness, he just like he just can't stand me. But when I'm in the good me, the happy me, that's when the kindness comes out in him. And you're talking about long-term relationships. Like how to promote a long-term relationship is that you just simply have to practice kindness. Prem Rawat talks about welding. He actually used that word, welding people to you. You've got people in your life that you really, really, you got to. What I try and understand is that what would happen if my son suddenly went missing, or just got lost, or he didn't love me anymore, or or it's like, and I'd be devastated, absolutely devastated. It's like my stepdaughter. If she didn't love me anymore, I'd be devastated. And I got to understand that, and that I don't like being disliked by people. I don't like upsetting people. So, and yet sometimes I do exactly that, because I'm not perfect. I'm unconscious at times, and I like to stroke my ego to think I'm better than somebody else. And the bad wolf is a very deceptive, tricky bastard of a thing, and it gets me all the time, But I'm learning. But one thing I'm learning is that, I love coming home and seeing him. I love taking him for a drive. I love cooking dinner for him. I love taking him for a drive on Saturdays. And these are the things that make me happy. I love seeing my stepdaughter, and we go out and eat $100 worth of sushi sometimes, And I just laugh, and because that makes her happy. It makes me happy, And I go to Wing Chun, and I'm enjoying that because the people there treat me really well, and I treat them well. I do service, I love going there because the people treat me really well. And like it or lump it, I can't change that. I like to think of myself as being happy, but all on my own. But that, for me, that's impossible. I get affected, and I'm happy when people like me. I'm happy when I treat people well, and that's what I'm learning how to do. Is like just treat people well, no matter who they are. And I'm not saying I'm perfect at it, I'm not saying that far along, but that's the happy Gary Sullivan when he loves just having a chat with people. Like wherever I go, I just having a chat, like see what's going on. And it goes for everybody I meet. I just try and, because every single person can contribute to me, like even talking to you today about, like those bags that I want to find. There you are, you got a source of the bags. And I need to, then it was the bloodworms, and then it was, the horse manure. It's like,
it's funny how
wow,
things
that
can
was
tie
just a
together,
real.
isn't it? Yeah.
I'm sorry?
It's funny how things can just all tie together just with
Yeah,
conversations.
and
Start talking.
and I find that this happens to me a lot when I'm just open to people, no matter who it is, and just listen to what they have to say. And I still judge. I'm judgmental as all hell, but I try and put that in the back pocket and just go, well, just. And if people don't like me, I just move on. And sometimes they don't. I had that experience at work. I wasn't functioning good because I was tired. I hated the job, actually. And people ended up just crapping all over me. I thought, well, fair enough. I wasn't functioning good. I wasn't doing the right thing. Time just to move on. That's what I've done. And I think, but the basic thing is that I'll finish up pretty soon. Is that the one thing that I really truly want to understand is that I do have a heart, and I need to explore that area of myself. And then I know now that Prem Rowett is an amazing source of inspiration, and and because I'm so fickle and so weak, is that I need that continuous reminder that the light, that the goodness is there. And what I truly need in my life is just a bit of peace. I need to feel happy, and I need to feel a bit of joy. And I'm at my very best when I suppose when I love my creator. Because many, many, many years ago, I realized that God, I know I'm sounding a little bit nuts, I suppose, but there is a God. I know that. I know that in the depths of my heart. And when you love him, you get this other thing happening, and it's called, you can call it joy. You can call it peace. I don't know what you really want to call it. But it's what I crave. It's what I look for.
And it's a constant. It sounds to me that throughout your time you've been trying to find your identity, and you've struggled with that throughout your whole life, and you just keep looking to try and find yourself and build on yourself. And you say you're weak and you need your counselling or whatever to your meditation or whatever to see the light. But that's a strength. I see that as a real strength of yours to actually acknowledge some of these things and go about what you're doing to sort of get back on the right track. And even acknowledging sometimes you're not perfect and sometimes you fall short. That's that's perfectly human. But being able to reflect on that and try to continually improve and try and find yourself, I feel you're still doing it. Even now at 67, you've been doing it probably most of your life, and you're still trying to do it and build.
Yeah, well, it's been 46 years that I've been, I suppose, trying to do it. And that's, again, it's like somebody said to me a few months back, Gary, you just got to relax. It's like, that's something I've never ever done. I've never, in my own head, I've never relaxed. It's always trying, always doing, and it's like, just relax. And it's like the floor just fell out, and I discovered you can only describe it as being infinite. That doorway into the heart is simply infinite. So how could I ever know who I am? How could I ever know? But how could I ever know that? I don't think you ever really know yourself, because it always changes. It changes all. Who I am changes all the time. But the only thing for sure and certain is that when I listen to Trevor out, when I listen to my heart, when I listen to myself, when I practice a little bit of kindness, especially to the ones that I really love, is that I'm happy. Not
And that's
perfect, because look, he even says, Prem actually says, he says, you're not perfect, because we he says what isn't is not and will not be, and that's what we are. We weren't always here. We're going to die. He talks about two walls, two opposing walls. One that we already come through when we were born, and the other one, which is inescapable, which is racing, and I feel it racing towards me at 1,000 miles an hour, is our ending. And when you're 67 and you're grossly overweight and your knees are all stuffed up, and you actually feel that thing coming closer. So we're not perfect. We cannot be perfect, and we never will be perfect. But the fact is there is something that is perfect within inside of us. And that lives in the heart.
No, that's really good insight, Gary. And one other thing I took from that is, and I think it's a common thing that not many people talk about, especially among men, is taking frustrations out on your loved ones simply because they're there and they tolerate it, because often they don't have a choice in the matter. It's probably fairly common behavior for men that are stressed or having other difficulties in life and not knowing how to cope. So using a coping mechanism on their families or on their loved ones is probably brings them some relief on, in that sort of respect. But it's just because you're in the darkness and you're not thinking clearly and using, I think your term was easy victims or can't fight back. So that's what you do. Whereas
especially my kids, he can't fight back at all. And what sort of a monster goes around hurting people that can't fight back? And you love them anyway. It's like, really, what is that all about? When you I've met people who love to be cruel. You love it. Who love to take their shit out on other people. And Prem talks about that too, and he says basically they're just really weak people. They're just weak, and they think they're all powerful, but they're just weak.
And one of your reflections was you sort of outside, and when you go back home to your light, you sort of can understand it and reflect on that. But when you're in that state of mind, it's very difficult to rein that in.
It is because I am thinking of a particular person who I won't name now, but this person enjoys it. He's they've done it to me over the years, and I've let him do it. He loves it. He loves that being cruel. He just they just dig it, and but little do they know that all that energy, that negative energy they throw out at me will turn around and come back at them. And it does, because that's its nature. Anyway, I think I've just sort of warbled on
Yeah,
a bit
no, that's
here.
been very, very insightful, Gary. I'd like to thank you for your time and for being so open and honest in these conversations. And what I'm taking away from this is identity is something that you got to work on and work hard towards to be the person you want to be. And it sounds like to me that that's what you're, even now, that's what you're trying to be. I think you said kindness is in the heart, and that's where you're trying to be at peace and happiness there. So hopefully you can keep working towards that and achieve your goal.
Yeah, I think you started it pretty good, Trevor. And
Yep.
I'd really like to thank you for this opportunity, because, you know, like speaking like this, I don't get the chance to do that.
Yep.
I hope it hasn't been a episode of me self-promoting, but
No, I think there'll be a lot of insight there. Yep.
I've just tried to be honest how I see myself at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's
anyway,
good, and I appreciate
we'll
that.
leave it at that.
Thank you very much for your time, and we'll see you later, Ray.
Okay, mate. See you later. Okay, bye.